God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my source, love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything. God is my source. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Yay, God. We're going to sing about our blessings now. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. One more time. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Let's thank Bobby Wilson for being our guest singer here today. Thank you so very much. So good morning, Cityside in the room, and good morning, Cityside on live stream. Those of you who may still be in your pajamas or watching with your dogs and cats, welcome to everyone. My name is Reverend Judy Raniger-Meza, and I'm part of the leadership team here at Cityside. I'm your host here today. If you are here for the first time, we especially want to welcome you. And we're also excited to see some old familiar faces filtering back here to Cityside. We hope that whether new or old, you will consider making Cityside your spiritual home. At Cityside, we are about practical spirituality that you can use to create the life that you want and cultivate prosperity based on your personal definition of what that is. We embrace new thought and wisdom paths, and we practice a philosophy rather than a religious doctrine, which is based on the teaching of Ernest Holmes, author of Science of Mind, as well as other new thought teachers past and present. We honor all paths here at Cityside and practice oneness, knowing that spirit or God, source, whatever name you want to give it, is all that there is and that we are one with it. And what we are really about is providing a supportive community where you can explore your own spiritual path and connect to the spirit and wisdom within you. Just having a conversation with someone before service about how wonderful it is to be in a place where you get to decide what your own definition of God is and follow that, and you are supported in that. So I would like you to join me in speaking aloud as a community our mission statement, which you will find on your handout in the black box. We envision an empowered community that is living in a world of unconventional love in action. Our mission is to create safe spaces to explore and deepen our faith, grow in spiritual relationship, and connect with our authentic nature. We are a social media-friendly community here at Cityside, so if people have their phones out, don't worry about that. We actually support that. We appreciate everyone sharing that you're here, either posting the live stream link or just letting people know that you're checking in and that you're here. So let people know that we are here at, what's our address? 1821? Yeah, Hubbard. So people who are on live stream, come and visit us here. Today, our own Russ Legear will be sharing his, yay, Russ! Will be sharing his talk on dancing with Ernest, how to live a life of relationship. So my relationship with Ernest, well, actually we don't have a relationship. He's quite dead, but my experience of Ernest has been the entree into a more expanded definition or experience of spirituality. Having, like many of us, been raised in a more traditional religion, it was an exploration and a deepening of what spirituality and what God can really be for me. And as that then has led me to interfaith and some other paths as well, but it was through Science of Mind that began. So I'm very appreciative of that and eager to hear what Russ' take is on this. And so as we, before we do that, we usually have an icebreaker. So let's just have a conversation with someone, perhaps that you don't know or don't know that well, about dancing, just in general. Do you like to dance? Do you not like to dance? Can you dance? Or are you like me and you have two left feet? What kinds of dance do you like? Who taught you to dance? Or maybe just how you're dancing through life, how you're dancing with Ernest Holmes. So, meet your neighbors.
Oh, it's perfect. Oh, I guess I have to stand. Okay. Bring it back. If everyone will come back to their seats now. I can see we got a lot of happy dancers in the room. We do. People who like to dance. Look at that. Hi, everyone. I am Connie Hodek, one of your spiritual practitioners, and I have the reading, the meditation, and the prayer today. Now, my reading comes from a book called Can We Talk God by Ernest Holmes. I love this book. It is so straightforward, concise, easy to read. If you were looking for a gateway understanding, this is it, and it goes very quickly. I would suggest getting it just to have it. If you already have it on your shelf, pull it down and look at it again, because it's one of those, and I've had it on my shelf. As you can see, it's been marked up and everything, but I started reading it again when this was going to be, and I went, oh, it's good to revisit this. Yes, I need to hear this again. So this is in the first chapter, The Unity of Truth. Evolution is an eternal unfoldment. Life reveals itself to whoever is receptive to it. A motion picture would have been a miracle in medieval times, and no doubt the figures on the screen would have been regarded as either gods or devils. The birth of spiritual ideas into the human consciousness meets three distinct reactions. The Orthodox say that God never intended such things to be, else he would have revealed them to his prophets. The materialist laughs at them, and the childlike are receptive. Science, philosophy, intuition, and revelation all must unite in an impersonal effort if truth is to be gained and held. No system of thought can stand which denies human experiences. No religion can be vital which separates humanity from divinity. Nor can any science long maintain its position which denies the spontaneous appearance of volition and will. A human being is more than matter. There is an inner life higher than the psyche. A human being is mind, soul, and body, mental, spiritual, and physical, intelligence, volition, and will, fused into a coordinated personality, and we each can understand ourselves only from this larger viewpoint. We deal with the real person only when we deal with the whole person. We deal with the whole person only when we deal with the mental, spiritual, and physical faculties working in unity. All right, if you'll find a position, equal on your behind, feet on the floor, spine erect, chin level, and then breathe deeply into your body. Now breathe deeply into your mind. Now breathe deeply into your spirit. Breathing at your normal rate, what is comfortable and uniquely your rate. Open yourself to the question of, who am I? What are all the elements in my being? All the specifics that are uniquely me. Allow them to present themselves to you as we sit in silence and contemplate. Keep breathing. Slowly come back into the room. Take a deep breath. Become present in your body. As I speak a prayer over Cityside. Right here, I recognize that the Divine Spirit is present, flowing through us, around us, and is. We are one with the Divine Spirit. We are one with the universe, God, energy, light, love, whatever you want to call it. It is. It is bigger than us, and it is us. We are one with it. And in this beautiful presence, in this light that is a high vibration of love, life, laughter, joy, abundance, and prosperity, I speak a blessing over each and every individual perfect being in this room, online, in this planet, on this planet. We are unique, divine expressions of God. You are unique. You are the bright, high vibration that is the divine. And I speak a blessing over Cityside, for we come together as a community, as love, as light, and all are welcome. All who wish to find themselves, find their light, find their spiritual being, and a relationship with this, you are welcomed. You are welcomed with our love, and you will be supported. Oh, and I bless everyone's work. The work of many hands make light work. And we come together as family, as community. And I bless you, each and every one that came today to set this room up, that came today to bring the prayer of music, that came today to be a part of this high vibration. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is with gratitude that we begin. It is with gratitude that we continue. I call this all good. And together we say, and so it is. Amen, amen.
You know, when you pray, you treat, you wish, you dream, and all of a sudden, those prayers are answered. Those dreams come true. Those wishes are granted. And you're often very surprised that it's a quiet thing. When it all comes true, just the way you planned. It's funny, but the bells don't ring. It's a quiet thing. When you hold the world in your trembling hand, you'd think you'd hear upon the clouds, but I don't hear a band, and I don't hear the bells, the sounds untold, such moments Reminisce comes in on tiptoe. It's a quiet
Let's give some more love to the fabulous Bobby Wilson, who I had not heard sing until today, and I am so grateful that I did get to hear her sing today. And of course, the amazing Greg Woods on piano. So, we are wrapping up our week, or our month on freedom of thought. And it would not be a month of freedom of thought without my man, the one, the only, the awesome, and the more verbose, really, as anybody who's read him knows, Ernest Holmes, Ernest Shirtleft Holmes. Okay, I'm trying to set the stuff up here so I don't just have everything careening down. So, how did I find Ernest Holmes? Well, I had a very meandering journey. As I get situated here. No, we are not going to read this entire book today, by the way. Though I think Reverend Louise would be okay with it. For most of my life, I was searching. I was really searching, and I had a really difficult childhood where I just didn't find many ways of connecting, yet there was always something inside of me that was wanting a connection, be it like connection with people or a connection with something greater. There was always something there that was pulling me forward, and I didn't really know what it was. And so I meandered around quite a lot. I was actually Wiccan for a hot minute, followed some other interesting consciousness paths, things like that. And finally, when I got around to my 30s, I'm 38 now. I actually turned 38 last Saturday. Was it Saturday? See, I am getting older. And when I was turning 30, like most 29-year-olds who are turning 30 or start thinking, I'm like, what on earth am I going to do with my life? I don't know what the heck's going on. I have no idea. And what a fabulous place to be that was, to not know what the heck is going on. And I started to, really question myself and who I was. And long story short, I found myself looking into the Bodhi Spiritual Center back when they first moved onto Magnolia Street. And being the nerd that I am, I looked at the Yelp reviews, because that's what us millennials do, is we look at the Yelp reviews to find out. So write some good Yelp reviews for us, by the way, too. Hey, that'd be awesome. I'd love that. No. So I looked at the Yelp reviews, and I found out from one of those reviews that Science of the Mind, which is the book as well as sort of the spiritual path that we follow and that we teach here at Cityside, that that's what they did at Bodhi as well. I'm like, okay, what's that all about? Like, I didn't actually go to Bodhi yet. I instead went out to Amazon and I bought this book, which is the Science of Mind textbook. Now, for those of us you hear like some chuckles and some laughter in here, and that's because those of us who have read this book know that it is not an easy read. It is definitely not an easy read, and it is definitely, as Connie mentioned, I would start with something a little bit easier, like Can We Talk to God, or This Thing Called You is another good one to start with Ernest Holmes. This is not the book that I should have started with, but I'm still so grateful that I started with it. Because when I started reading this book, what I was finding out was, oh wow, this is what I've believed my whole life. I just never knew somebody put it into words, into a lot of words. And, I had always kind of had this philosophy, I think pretty much since, other Bobby who's downstairs who's helping people in would probably love this. There's this quote from one of the characters on this old sci-fi TV show Babylon 5 years ago that the character says that, she believes that we're all just the universe trying to figure itself out, and that stuck with me the whole, for my whole life. And then I read that, and I'm like, well, that's pretty much saying the same thing. We're just here, that we are the universe. We are just trying to figure out our lives, figure out what we are, who we are here to be. And Ernest helped me with that. And Ernest put me on this path that I'm on here today. So it would be really easy for me to dive into all of the things that he has written, which there are literally hundreds of publications between his books and his lectures and his classes and all of these things. It'd be so easy for me to go into that today, but then we would be here until next week, probably. And I'd really like to focus instead on the teaching that Ernest gave us that maybe he didn't realize he was giving us, and that we don't think about a whole lot, and that's the teaching that he gave us through the life that he lived. We don't talk about that a whole ton. We get really caught up in our heads with what he wrote because there's so much there for us to get. And yet, when we start looking at the man himself and what he did, the way he lived his life, man, there is I get super inspired there. So that's what I'd like to talk about today, because really Ernest lived his life as though love was the fact of life that it really is. He walked through life open-hearted to all experiences, to all people. He loved people. I mean, he's very much an extrovert in the sense that he just loved to be around people. And so when I was thinking about what I was going to go through, like what can we learn from his life, there were 3 things that came out of that for me that I wanted to share with you today. And that first thing that is very much, I think, at the core of how Ernest showed up in the world is the idea of divine curiosity. And what that means is having a curiosity that is so rooted in the fact that there is more than we see with our 5 senses, be it in our relationships, in our physical world, in science, in art, in whatever there is so much more to reality than meets the eye. And Ernest walked through life acting as though this were true. He would not have written the Science of Mind textbook if he had not gone out to read the holy books from every single religion and to look at all of the philosophies, to dive through probably every single thing that Ralph Waldo Emerson ever wrote 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, because Ernest Holmes would say, Emerson is like water for me. He drank it. He made it part of his being. He studied life. He studied all of the wisdom that the people who have come before us had to offer. But he also studied our physical world, the ways that we show up in the world. That's why I picked that reading from Can We Talk to God today, because I think in that particular reading, Ernest really gets into the whole sense of how there are many different aspects to the reality that we live. And so I'd like to invite us, what would it mean for you, what would it mean for us to walk into life having a divine curiosity about everything that is going on in our lives? Especially those things where it's really easy for us to not be curious. Those things that maybe are pushing our buttons and are trying to get our curiosity to walk on out through the door and never come back again. get curious about why is the world the way that it is today? Not from a place of judgment, but just from a place of finding out, like, why do we still have conflict today? Why do we still have war? Why do we still have people who are hungry and who do not have housing, do not have adequate housing? Why are these things still happening in our world? Because Ernest was really curious about that. I think he dedicated his life to finding ways that we can heal the suffering that we see in the world. So how can we open our hearts to all that is occurring in the world? That's the first question that I'd like to pose for us, because I know there is not a simple answer to that. It's a lifelong process. It's not something where we just, sort of walk up and all of a sudden we're enlightened and we know the path forward. No, we get to figure it out together. And that's one of the things that Ernest Holmes taught us. He, I don't think, ever intended, even though oftentimes it can show up this way just because of the way he teaches, he never intended for us to just do all of this work on ourselves, on our consciousness, and then not be in the world. I know that he always intended for us to be in the world, because otherwise he wouldn't have been in the world. He wouldn't have been such an attractive personality. When he first started teaching, there were people who were coming far and wide to see him, and this was before the internet. This was before television. This was back when the idea of the telegraph was cutting-edge technology. And yet people still found Ernest Holmes. They still found his teaching because he had so worked on his consciousness and so desired to bring his teaching into the world that there was this attractive force. His biographer and his best friend, Reginald Armour, writes about that a lot, that, this tiny guy, this tiny plump guy, Ernest Holmes, he called him moon-faced. He sort of had this like cherubim sort of like look to him, is how Reg Armour describes him. Like, he had this gravitational sort of way around him where you would say, like, you don't even remember what he said, you just knew that it was the truth. And you were grateful to have gotten to hear it. That's what it means to be in the world, because I think he was so attractive for everybody because Ernest was fully himself. He wasn't anyone other than Ernest Holmes. He was exactly who he knew he was, who he needed to be, and that's who he brought to the world. And that really shows in that divine curiosity, because we also get to be curious about ourselves, don't we? We get to be curious about how we show up in the world. We get to be curious about maybe the ways that we show up in the world amazingly. Let's not like discount the fact that we all kind of rock life all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. Even though it might not seem like it, all of us got up out of bed today. We put our clothes on, we're here, or if you're on the live stream, maybe you're in your gym jams, and that's fine too, but you got out of bed and you're watching this. We are a miracle of life every single day that we show up. Just that is an accomplishment in our consciousness. But we also get to be curious about the ways that maybe we don't show up in life the way we'd like to. Be conscious of how we have an effect on other people. We might be acting in a way in the world that, sure, other people have their own buttons and we might be pushing them, but we still get to be conscious of the fact that we might be pushing people's buttons. And that's something that we get to work on too. So I think at the core of that divine curiosity is really getting curious about how we are all in relationship with one another and how we're in relationship with the world and with ourselves. So, are you guys following along with that? You're so zen. It's really cool to watch out here. The second step along the Ernest Holmes path, and this should be no surprise to the Ernest Holmes fans here, and that is practice. Practice, practice, practice. If there was one consistent thing in every single one of Ernest Holmes' lectures and writings and teachings, it is that you can learn all of this all you like, but it doesn't mean a darn thing unless you put it into practice. Don't believe me? take it out into the world and make it work for you. He would start up his radio shows, always saying there is a power for good and you can use it. And I love that second part, you can use it. That is this teaching. That is what we teach here at Cityside, and that's what Ernest Holmes taught. But I got a question for you. How many people here have read like a self-help book at one point or another? Raise your hands. Yeah, it's okay. You know, we all read it. Now, how many people here have read a self-help book and not done any of the exercises at the end of the chapters? It's not easy, is it? It's a lot easier for us to learn this wisdom, but it's a lot harder to just put it into practice. And I don't think it needs to be that hard. All we got to do is just say, yes, okay. What if I did this? What if I went home and I made prayer? What if I prayed every night before I went to bed? Just check it out and see. You know, what if I, instead of talking about having a meditation practice, what if I did a meditation practice? You know, even if it was small, even if I just started doing meditation for like 1 minute a day, which, by the way, is a really great way to start a meditation practice. That's how I started mine, and I do 30 minutes every day now. Started off with 1 minute a day. You know, what if we actually took all of the wisdom that Ernest has so generously compiled for us from all of these spiritual paths, from all of these philosophies, and actually put it into practice every day? I mean, that's pretty cool, because I think of not just how our lives individually are uplifted when we do that, because mine certainly was once I put it into practice. And I got to be honest, like, I wish I could say that I am this rock star practitioner up here that's like praying his way through everything in life. Man, I fall down on my practice all the time. You know, I would love to be that person that can just like, be in that state of prayer all the time, but I'm not there yet. And even though I'm not there yet, the practice that I have done has completely shifted who I am and who I am here to be and what I experience in life. And that's the promise that Ernest gives us, that even a little bit of practice, even just a tiny bit, can open us up to the true reality that all God wants for us is for us to live the life of our dreams, to live as though we are in full alignment with love, with joy, with truth, with power. The thing is, all of life really is practice. It's just, what are we practicing? Are we choosing to practice things like, last night I was practicing eating an ice cream sandwich and an ice cream bar and a popsicle. It was, I had a sweet tooth last night. That was a practice for me. I was engaging in life, and that's okay. But if I keep doing that, I might get a little bit more of this going on, and then I get to ask myself the question, was this really the practice for me? Or we can choose other practices like prayer, like meditation. I like to think of being in community as a spiritual practice. In fact, I think being in community is the most powerful spiritual practice that we can have. Because Ernest certainly saw this. He certainly saw the face of God in every single person that he met. And I think that's why it was so easy for him to be in love with all of the people that he met. So that's the invitation that Ernest gives us, to experiment, to take these teachings and just try it. The worst case is like it doesn't work, and that's fine. Try again. When I was first learning to do our 5-step affirmative prayer, which is the specific way that we treat our minds to shift our consciousness from negative thinking to positive thinking, in so doing, we shift our lives. When I started I said hundreds of prayers that went nowhere, that were just me putting, my voice into the air. But it only takes one. Just like Thomas Edison found, it only takes one success for us to realize that there is a deeper truth in life. And those prayers that did turn out for me, whoo, boy. Prayed my way into the job that I'm in right now. I prayed my way into the house that I'm in right now. I prayed my way, whether I knew it or not, into the ministerial program that I'm in now. Yeah, that one, the jury's still out because I'm still like, oh, this is really, really hard. It's really, really hard. You know, we get to experiment. And that's actually how science is, and that's why I love that this is called the science of mind, because, you know, we look at science and we look at all the successes in science, right? All of the good things that science has given us, but we forget all of the trial and error that had to happen before those successes could happen. You know, that's the story of life. We sort of muddle our way through everything, but we get to have joy around those moments when we're like, yes, I got it. I nailed it. And so that second step, that step of practice, leads me sort of naturally, and I think if you follow this plan, it'll lead you naturally into this too, into the third step, and that is that we get to fall madly in love with reality. Because Ernest sure as heck fell madly in love with reality. He wrote books upon books about reality. He talked about reality. He would have conversations in his home about reality. He was in love with reality. You don't talk about reality as much as he did and not love the crap out of it. And so there's a lot of depth in that whole idea of what does it mean to fall madly in love with reality, warts and all. Well, the first one is falling madly in love with people. And that one's hard. It's really hard because there are a lot of people in the world, and I have been one of those people that do everything that they can to teach you why you should not love them, or at least they think that you should not love them. There's a lot of people doing that in the world. So it's not easy. It's not easy to approach people in the way that Ernest did. And I'm not saying that Ernest is perfect. He certainly had his faults too. But I think what he found in his teaching, this idea of oneness, this idea that as I am here speaking with you, I am seeing reflected back at me the face of God in its full diversity, in all of the ways that it expresses itself. And that's really beautiful. And it's really hard to not be in love with people when you see that the love of God is within them, even though they might not know it. And that's why Ernest is really inspiring for me, because for him it seems so natural. For him it would just be, you know, somebody would be like haranguing him in a talk, and he would just bring everybody back to laughter and bring everybody back to oneness. And he just had this natural way of seeing God wherever he went. So what would it be like if we could do that? Even just a little bit. You know, maybe there's one person, there's like somebody that we work with, or somebody who's kind of having one of those sort of grating influences on our lives. They're sort of like that mosquito that keeps on stinging us. You know, what would it be like if we could get a little bit divinely curious about, well, I wonder why that person is doing that. And I wonder why I have such a reaction around that person. And then I wonder how I could open my heart to this person just a little bit more. You don't have to open your whole heart to it. We don't expect you to be Gandhi, you know, and just boo, you know. I don't think that's realistic. That's why we have practice. But there is sort of an opportunity to open that door just a teeny tiny little bit and let a little bit of that light in. And that little bit of light can become a little bit more light, and it can become a little bit more light, until finally it's so much light that you didn't know there was a door there in the first place. We also get the opportunity to fall in love with all the other aspects of reality. You know, we get to fall in love with our physical world. You know, I fall in love with my guitars every time I go home and play them. Because for me, it's not about a thing, it's about this way that I get to express something else that God is. You know, I fall in love with my job every time I do something and I know that, like, the kids of Chicago are uplifted. At least I tell myself in my mind that they're uplifted. I really hope that I'm doing a good job with that. We also get to fall madly in love with our triumphs and our mistakes. And I want to emphasize our triumphs because especially in Western society and here in the Midwest, it's really easy for us to sort of like, we might do something really awesome and just be like, oh, no, that was nothing. Well, we try and be really cool about it. Like, oh yeah, I won the Nobel Peace Prize. That's cool. It's nothing. It's just a, whatever. And, there are things that are worthy of praise because when we praise one another and when we praise ourselves, we are praising God. God is worthy of praise because none of this would be if it were not for God. That's something that's really easy for us to take for granted, isn't it? We also get to look at our mistakes, not from a place of judgment, because judgment never solved anything. We get to look at our mistakes from a place of, oh, wow, I kind of messed that up. Let me feel my feelings around that, see how I'm feeling, and then I get to decide, do I want to do it this way again or not? And we move forward, we learn. Every single day we are making mistakes in life, and that's okay. But if we don't look at them, we don't actually learn anything, do we? So we get an opportunity to fall madly in love with exactly how we are showing up every single day. Every single day. And that's what I think Ernest was all about. That who we are, the whole picture of us, is exactly who we are supposed to be. And that if we continue to practice in life, that if we continue to practice these principles of consciousness, then we get the opportunity to be even more. And so I'd like to close by maybe branching this outward, thinking of how us in our community, in these spiritual practices, in spiritual community with each other, the power that we hold not just individually in our consciousness, but when we come together as community, the amplified power that we have for positive change in the world. And I wish that I had a really eloquent way of saying that, but I don't. So the good news is that Ernest does. And I'm going to read from this here. It's a little bit longer, but I think he gets it right to the point, like Ernest really does. This was from a lecture or a dedication that he was giving to Whittier, California in 1959, which is one of my favorite readings from him. And let's see if I can get through the whole thing here. Where am I going? Should I edit? Yeah, that's it. We are a teaching order, not a preaching order. We are a practicing order, not a proselytizing order. The world has waited long for something to happen. Now the healing power of the unseen magic of the Spirit can be made evident. This is the basis of our cornerstone. We have not yet done what I believe we should do with our membership. We are here tonight to dedicate a church, a physical building. I think it is beautiful. I think it is wonderful. I think it is a miracle. But I know why it is here. It is here because you are here and because the consciousness of all of you wonderful people has moved together. And what happened? Power. Like the weaving of a rope where one strand will hold no weight, but many strands united will hold terrific weight. We have yet to see what the multiple consciousness of a church body can do if the members are properly trained, if they permit someone to exercise authority over them, not over their theology, not over their private lives, but over one thing only, their spiritual concepts. There is a law of good. There is a power in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. And it will multiply its effects 1,000 times through the united consciousness of a group. I have had so much inward conviction about this the last year. There are so many wonderful religions in the world. We are not better than the others. We are not more spiritual. We are not more evolved. We are not anything other than one thing. And the footnote here says that his voice changed. We have co-joined our consciousness with the eternal guarantee of the universe that the everlasting and eternal Father of all life and Mother of all creation, forever begetting the only begotten, is begetting him in us. Right now, and that the word of our mouth is a word of truth in such degree as it emulates and embodies the truth which sanctifies the word to its unique service of healing, not only the sick, but the poor in heart. We are dedicated to the concept that the pure in heart shall see God, here, that the meek will inherit the earth now, that one with truth is a majority, that every one of us is in the secret place of the Most High, in the center of his own consciousness, has the secret with the eternal, the everlasting, the almighty, and the ineffable. God and I are one. And I see uniting in one great inner praise, one great union of effort, one crescendo of song, and one enveloping light of consciousness. I see it. Oh God, the veil is thin between. We do mingle with the hosts of heaven. I see it, and I shall speak no more. So let's pray. Oh, wait for Greg to do a little doodly up here while we pray. It's a little bit more fun that way. All right, so let us just put our hands on our heart and get in touch with the wisdom that resides in that beautiful center of our being that is filled with nothing but love, nothing but oneness, nothing but positive regard for all that is. I recognize this power that is ever present, and I call it God, knowing it is so much more than just that name. It truly is all that there is. It is the one, it is the many, and it is the truth. And I know that I am one with it, just as each and every beautiful soul here at Cityside on our live stream, we are all one with the one. In our various expressions, diverse as they are, we are all one with the one. And so I know that the life of God is the life that each and every one of us leads each and every day. I know that each and every one of us is able to effortlessly walk into the world as Ernest Holmes did, open-hearted, free in his knowing that all that he is doing is meeting God. And that is what we do. We walk into life meeting God in every single experience, every single face. All that we do is simply God meeting God, and that I affirm for us here and now, knowing that we are open to the love that we can receive in this divine relationship. We are open to the joy, to the wisdom, to the peace that is present when we open our hearts to one another. This I know to be true, and I call it forth here and now. And I am just grateful, so grateful for the power of this prayer. It's so grateful for each and every person here at Cityside saying yes to being open-hearted just a little bit. I am grateful for all of this. And I release this word into the action of the law, knowing that it is done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ, for that take on Ernest Holmes. And just to add my own little invitation to this idea of falling madly in love with reality. At least for me, it will be in how to fall madly in love with a reality that includes children in cages and a harsh political reality and so much coarseness in our public life. How do we fall in love with that reality, and how do we get curious about it? And maybe what our practice can be around that in terms of service, perhaps. So that's what I'm carrying with me today. So thank you, Russ. We are moving into our time of giving. Cityside is a community-supported organization, and each week we practice conscious giving to support Cityside in creating the space and experience of us coming together in community. So sharing my financial wealth, such as it is with Cityside, is something that I just appreciate doing. I've used this analogy before about being a parent. It's obligation, it's responsibility, it's what you're supposed to do, it's the right thing. And but it's all done with love. For those of you who are parents or act in any kind of a way as a parent to children, you know it's done out of love. And that is what giving at Cityside is for me here, I give it out of the love for this community that supports me. So whatever reasons you give to support Cityside or other places where you're spiritually fed, we certainly appreciate that. And we, as a community-supported organization, everything that you see here is done through your gifts. The renting of this beautiful space, the money that we're able to pay our musicians, I know it's not a lot. Even the handouts you get, the food, you know, it all comes from donations. So we do appreciate your support. You can, if you're not giving with check or money, you can also do this digitally. You can text the word give to the number 312-757-8111, or go to the website at cityside.me, and there's a donate button that you can press there. So before we make our gifts, I want to invite you into a ritual that we practice here each Sunday, just to get into the energy of gratitude before we make our gift. So I invite you to close your eyes just for a minute and reflect upon the week that has just passed. What has happened this week that you are grateful for? Perhaps it's connections that you've made, or reconnections perhaps. Events that you have attended, people that you have met, unexpected support, ease and flow. And now I invite you to just turn your attention to your money and the flow of money during the week. Notice the perfect flow of giving and receiving in your week. And it is from that place I invite you to make your gift. From this place of gratitude for all that is good and all that is coming to you, and an appreciation of your gratitude for having this community to support you and connect to. So I invite you to keep your hands to your heart and repeat the gratitude affirmation that is on your handout. We'll say it aloud. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am.
Will your heart and soul say yes? Will your spirit still say yes? There is more that I require of thee. Will your heart and soul say yes? Will your heart and soul say yes? Will your spirit still say yes? If I told you what I really need, would your heart and soul say yes? Will your heart and soul say yes?
Thank you, Bobby. So I just want to, we'll close ourselves out before Bobby again sings a closing song. Again, let's just thank Bobby again for her presence here with us today. So wonderful. We are so blessed at Cityside to have so many beautiful, lovely voices and talented musicians come through here. So thank you. So I want to begin by thanking our service team who have been here today. Russ, Legear, for that wonderful talk. Again, for Greg and Bobby and their music. We've had Lucy and John and Connie helping to set up. Dom, who's floating around always making sure our mics work. We have Keith on the live stream. And Peter and Bobby, who are our greeters and that do such a wonderful job after service, making sure everything fits back in the closet. Because none of us can figure out how that goes. We just take it out, they make it go back in. So I hope I've gotten everybody. We thank everybody for showing up. Thank you for being here. And if you have any interest in being involved as a volunteer, please see one of us. You can see me or any of us on the leadership team, on the service team. We could always use more help on the live stream. So, and yes. So again, if you are here for the first time, we have yes and cards out on the welcome table. So please consider filling those out so we can stay in touch with you. And again, if you have any questions about Cityside, just feel free to talk to one of us, stay for some coffee after service. And I believe that the only, wait a minute, I gotta turn this page. We'd like to join everyone, invite everyone to join our Facebook group, which is different from our Facebook page. And this group allows us to be in communication with each other during the week and to stay connected with each other. So our August theme coming up is A World That Works for Everyone, inspired by Center for Spiritual Living's Global Heart Vision. We have a great speaker lineup, including Reverend Darrell, Reverend Amy, Angie Hosley, and others. So do not leave it with anything heavy on your heart. Prayer is offered in the hallway if you would like it. We also have a prayer box where you can put a prayer request that will be prayed over for 2 weeks. So let's move into our closing song as we leave here today. Have a great week, everyone.
And let's stand. Your eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Your hair falls perfectly without you trying. You're so beautiful, I'd like to tell you every day. I know, when I compliment you won't believe me. It's so sad to think that what you don't see, what I see. Every time you ask me, do I look okay? I say, well, see your face. There's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause yes, you're amazing, just the way you are. Your eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Your hair fits perfectly without trying. 'Cause you're so beautiful, I gotta tell you every day. You know I'd never ask you to change. It's perfect what you're searching for. And you're amazing, just the way you are. Everybody say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause you're